She gave me that familiar razor-edged smirk, the one she'd perfected since childhood, tilting her champagne flute as if she were toasting my humiliation. "Didn't expect to see a welder's wife in a place like this," she murmured, her voice sweetened with venom. But the real silence splitter wasn't her insult. It was her husband's gasp. Elias froze mid-sip, the color draining from his face the second his eyes landed on me. His fingers twitched against the crystal glass, and for the first time in a long time, a slow, fierce calm rose in my chest. Because the one secret he thought would never see daylight, my husband's real identity, was about to detonate in the center of this glitter-soaked ballroom. I used to compare myself to my sister constantly. She glided through life with silk dresses, easy charm, and the kind of approval from our parents that I never managed to earn. She had prestige. I had love. And in our family, love never won. So when I married Daniel, quiet, thoughtful, always with some grease on his hands from the welding shop, my parents shut the door on me with finality. My mother warned me I was throwing my future away. My father simply walked out of the room like he was done with the conversation. And with me, I told myself the heartbreak would soften over time. But heartbreak doesn't fade. It waits. And eventually my sister dug it up again. It began with little things. Phone calls Daniel stepped outside to take. Deleted messages. Unusual meetings he wouldn't explain. I forced myself to believe it was stress. Work. Anything but betrayal. Then I found the email. Just one sentence. One confirmation. But enough to stop my world from turning. Transfer complete. No trace. And the sender? Elias Hale. My sister's husband. One of the most powerful men in the city. At first I couldn't breathe. But rather than confront anyone, something inside me clicked into place. Emotion clouds judgment. Revenge demands precision. So I watched. Listened. Connected the dots. Money was moving in ways it shouldn't. Meetings occurred in unregistered locations. A covert alliance forming behind Elias's back. And Daniel, my gentle, soft-spoken husband, was directly involved. But not as a pawn. As an architect. That was the moment I understood. I wasn't being deceived. They were. Because Daniel wasn't just a welder. He never had been. From that moment I operated in complete silence. I gathered every piece of evidence. Tracked every unauthorized transfer. Hired experts. An auditor to follow the money. A strategist to map the fallout. And an investigator who understood how financial predators hide their crimes. The case I built could collapse two kingdoms at once. When I finally confronted Daniel, he didn't bother pretending. He simply looked at me and said, "You're ready to hear the truth." And then he told me everything. His hidden assets. The companies he quietly controlled. His plan to dismantle Elias's empire from the inside. And the reason he lived like an average tradesman. "Power thrives in silence," he said. "Status makes noise. Noise attracts people like your family." For the first time I realized I hadn't married beneath their expectations. I had married far beyond them. And they had cast me aside for a lie they never bothered to question. The gala was the final move on the board. Every major investor was present. Every board member. And my sister, my lifelong rival, stood right where she'd always wanted to be. Center stage. But I had already delivered the final blow. A complete dossier of Elias's illegal offshores. Hidden accounts, fraudulent transfers, every betrayal he thought buried. Sent directly to the board moments before we arrived. So when he saw me standing there next to Daniel, he understood exactly what had happened. What are you doing here?" he choked out. I stepped close enough that only he could hear me. "Finishing what you thought you could hide." My sister's smug grin faltered when she noticed the panic twisting his features. She whispered his name, but he shrank away like I had a knife pressed to his ribs. And in a sense I did. Within an hour, he'd be removed from his position. His accounts frozen. His investors alerted. His spotless image forever stained. And my sister, so used to towering over me, would finally feel the ground give way under her feet. The music swelled, chatter rising like wildfire around us. I walked right past her, not sparing her a glance. I no longer needed to. I wasn't the welder's wife. I was the woman they should have never dismissed. Daniel's fingers slid into mine, warm and steady, the quiet ruler of an empire no one had seen coming. "Ready to go?" he murmured. More than ready, I breathed. As we walked out of that gilded hall together, I didn't feel petty satisfaction or rage. I felt reborn,